Welcome to Time to Press Pause, a podcast for CEOs by CEOs. I'm your host, Ellen Williams, CEO of The Salient Strategist, and today I'm speaking with
Neha Sangwan, MD. Neha is the CEO and founder of Intuitive Intelligence and author of two foundational books, Talk RX, 5 Steps to Honest Conversations for Connection, Health, and Happiness, and Powered by Me, From Burnout to Fully Charged at Work and in Life. Neha is a physician, engineer, author, speaker, and communication expert. She empowers individuals, leaders, and teams with efficient communication tools that address stress, prevent burnout, inspire accountability, and empower collaboration. She consults for top organizations like Google, American Express, and the American Heart Association, and has shared her work across 3 TEDx stages.
Welcome, Neha. I am thrilled to have you here on this episode of Time to Press Pause.
Great to be with you, Ellen.
I am especially excited to have you here today. I've attended a webinar where you were a speaker, so I know that there's a great story coming. And I'm in the process of reading your book, Powered by Me, which I actually used in some of my own research, which is how I found you in the first place. So thank you for being here today. And please share with us your Press Pause story.
All right. Well, my goodness, I'm thinking of like so many, when you grow up as an overachiever and you think you can push through your body. And at some point, the answer is no. I'm trying to think of the best place to start. I think where I would say that I don't want people to think I burned out. I'm a doctor, right? So internal medicine physician, executive coach, and engineer. So I've done a lot of schooling, but it took me a while to realize that schooling and those drives were to please other people, not take care of me. And I think that was one of the big pivotal points in my life, because at some point, if you're not aligned from the inside out, you're going to break down in your health, burn out, whatever it is. And so this idea that we follow nature, that there's seasons of growth and bloom, and there's times to rest and nourish and nurture and hibernate. And so that we don't respect those cycles because we live in a world that thinks faster is better and do more with less. I bought into that. So I think it was cultural. I think it was familial, all of that set my life up. So I'll back up a little and I'll just say, I'm the middle daughter of Indian immigrants who came to this country seeking an education and a better life for us. And the whole family kind of comes together, and it's a village to take care of kids. And so my grandmother came in. I have an older sister, and then there's me. 3 months into me being born, my grandfather got stationed in Africa with the United Nations and asked if he would please move there. He said yes, and then he called my grandmother and said, I need you to come with me. She scooped me up at 3 months and took me for a couple years to Africa with them. So I come back at 2 years old with a 3.5-year-old sister. I think I'm an only child. She thinks she's an only child. There's no FaceTime. We don't know each other. It's the 70s. And that is really the time when I was so heartbroken because I thought I did something wrong to be sent away from my grandparents, when in fact I hadn't done anything at all, but I felt pain that I didn't know what to do with. So what I ended up doing is, after crying for a month and it not bringing my grandparents back, I finally surrendered to, okay, what do I need to do in this world to take care of everybody else so that I never get sent away again? My older sister felt really threatened. Who is this adopted child that just showed up at 2 years old? I'm not a floppy baby. And so she wanted me to go away. So the bullying began. That was when I became a really big people pleaser. I scanned the environment, and anything anybody wanted from me, boy, I did it. And I was so good at tuning out that I forgot about pausing to tune in. When I realized that the Indian community and my parents valued engineering and medicine, boy, you bet. As soon as I realized engineering and medicine were not mutually exclusive, I was going to do them both. Everyone was going to be happy, and I was going to be safe. So as I grew, I was good at math and science, but I don't know that I would have chosen engineering. I'm much more intuitive. I'm much more heart-centered. But here's the good thing. You go through 5 years of engineering school and you develop a skill that is not as natural to you. But it was hard for me. It wasn't easy. Then I worked for Motorola to just take a break. Everyone laughs at me when I say take a break. They're like, that was like a full-time manufacturing job. That was not a break. And I say, yeah, but I was pausing my schooling so I could do something different than schooling. And to me, that was a break. And so just to understand too what people think pausing is, it can mean so many different things. I don't think it was a break for my nervous system. So I kept going, started a new job, did great. It was a manufacturing job. The next year I went into medical school. Obviously is really hard, especially for someone who didn't study biology or pre-med. You studied engineering. So that was a big tax on my nervous system. And then I said to my mom, I think I'm going to take a break. I think I should pause before residency. And my parents were like, Neha, you're in debt. You are, keep going, keep going. And so I think even when intuitively I knew I needed to pause, I was swayed by the external world and my need to belong. I wanted to make everybody proud. I didn't want to feel like a failure. And so I kept going. And as I kept going, here's the secret. The moment you stop, your loans kick in. So there's consequences to pausing sometimes. I finished my internal medicine residency, but then the moment you're done, your payments for loans kick in. I moved to California and I became a hospital physician, which is pretty intense. 4 years in, I walked in one day and I said, hey, Nina, she's a nurse. Can you please get me 40 milliequivalents of IV potassium for the gentleman in 636? And she looked at me and she said, Dr. Sangwan, are you okay? And that was the first time I thought I might not be. And so I said, yeah, why? And she said, that's the fourth time in under 5 minutes that you've asked me that same question, and I answer you every time. That made me pause because I had no recollection of what she was saying. It's one thing if I'm like, yeah, because you don't listen to me. That's why I'm saying it 3 times. I literally had no idea that I had done that. That's when I realized that something was wrong and it was time for me to figure out what to do. I went and met with a psychiatry friend who put me on medical leave and gave me a prescription for Prozac. And that was my introduction to burnout. It's really amazing that that was how I learned that I told my patients after heart attacks, strokes, and pneumonias to eat good food and get rest and all of these things. But I really somehow thought through my training and everything else, I was taught to believe that I had superpowers that didn't apply to other people. I could go 36 hours on a shift without sleep. So I took 2 ice cold 16-ounce Mountain Dews plus a king size Snickers bar and I could do it. But there was that day that came that really was not my choice. That I remember sitting in that psychiatrist's office and saying, but wait, I have 16 more patients to see. And he looked me dead square in the eyes and he said, Neha, I assure you, those 16 patients will be seen. And I also guarantee you it won't be by you. That was a wake-up call. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting things here. Like other people are seeing something I don't understand. So those 3 months off, for the first 5 weeks, I was seeing the psychiatrist every week. Now, I have to tell you, I was on my way home from the hospital that day, and I'm looking at the antidepressants sitting next to me, something I had prescribed, something many people use time to time. And all the side effects started flashing before my eyes, right, from pharmacology class. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know what's wrong with me or what this burnout thing is that they're talking about, but I'm less scared of that than I am of starting something I'm going to need to be weaned off of. So I put it in my drawer at home. And I thought, let me see if these sessions with the psychiatrist help me. And if they don't, then I'll take the meds. Okay, 5 weeks go by. And it's the first time I'm sleeping and my throat has stopped constricting. The way my body talks to me is through throat constriction and stomach turning. I never knew those were stress signs. I never knew that that's what was happening. But 5 weeks later, I can sleep through the night. I walk in and he says, "Oh my gosh, the Prozac is kicking in. You are right on time, 5 weeks." And I said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you that I didn't take them. And I just wanted to see, I was more afraid of the side effects than I was of how I was feeling, and I'm feeling better." And he got this look that overcame him. And he said to me, "Neha, I can't bill for a patient who's not on medication. So either would you like to start the medication or would you like to find another provider?" And that was the moment that really made me pause. Because if I, as a doctor, cannot access the care I need with the people that I need, and there's these rules that I'm not understanding, how is everyone else going to be able to do this? And when in a company, someone has stress like this and they go to the employee assistance program, EAP sends them to me. But I realized how little I knew about it other than giving them time off, 10 days or a month off. I can do that. And I can give them some cocktail of medications depending on the context, whether it's depression, anxiety, insomnia. I can write them those meds. But here's the kicker: 10 days or a month later, we send them back in the ring for round two, having no idea how they got there and what to do differently to do it successfully. And we expect them to come back and just go back into their job. And I learned that that was just not going to work. And so that day, I did such a, not only a pause in breath and in the moment, it felt to me that I had really realized part of my life purpose. That slowing down was the biggest gift I could have ever been given, because it got me to see what the world was just zooming right by. So I then learned, I went back into the hospital and I said, "Hey guys, I've learned that getting to the root of stress, stress causes or exacerbates more than 80% of all illness, physical illness." And I said, "Why are we not asking our patients once we physically stabilize them, what's at the root of their stress?" And my colleagues, so many of them, I don't even know, I want to say 50 of them, that I kept asking this question, basically said some version of this to me: "Neha, we are so busy. Just like you wouldn't order a test or a diagnostic that you didn't know what to do with the result, why would you ask them a question that you don't know what to do with the answer?" Because I wanted to say, what's at the root of your stress, right? Let's help them get to the root of the stress. And they basically were like, "We're not equipped to do that. And we're already so busy that why would we slow down to ask a question we couldn't, do something about?" And that was so telling to me. I thought, well, the reason we would do it is because people are depending on us. If we don't figure this out, we're going to be a world in chaos and disarray. And I fear that we are hurling there quite quickly.
Well, certainly extremely impactful pause. And you had a few of them, some of them actually quite close together, right? So you had the 3 months off, and then 5 weeks in, you had this other pause. I want to get back to a couple things that you said. One of the things you said was that you drive to please other people. And I think that's something that happens a lot, especially at the CEO level, right? You have the board, you have the employees, you have the other C-suites. So as a CEO, and your story is really powerful to me because you're a doctor. How do you approach someone that is in that leadership position and driven to please other people?
That's an amazing question because it does come up frequently. There's a balance here. The reason someone becomes a CEO is they're very much a doer. They get things done. They have strategic thinking. And so they're able to integrate whatever it is that they're creating with a very fast moving world. They have followership. People want to follow their vision and their mission. So they need to be liked. And we move into this innovative visionary space where they can see beyond what other people can see. And so what I want them to know is it's just that sometimes our need to be liked is something that stems from much earlier. I told you about my trauma. And so I learned that when we develop people-pleasing skills, it is in reaction to wanting to belong. And so now I'm no longer that 2-year-old getting bullied by a 3.5-year-old. I'm no longer in that experience, but my biology remembers danger. So whenever you've had an experience where you tried to speak up, say your truth, whatever it is, and you were met with pain, disappointment, loss of opportunity, your body, your biology remembers that. So what we need to do if you want to heal that is get clear on what that is, figure out the patterns that you use, give you the skills to have those difficult conversations. And it has to be in all directions for a CEO. It needs to be to authority, to fellow CEOs, if they're challenged in the industry. It needs to be to those that report to them. So a CEO is kind of an amazing position because any place that you aren't developed will be showcased quite quickly. It will be highlighted. Someone will point it out because you were brave enough to step into this role and say you're willing to grow in your personal power to match your positional power. And the people pleasing, be grateful for it. It got you here. It just may not take you where you want to go.
Yeah, everyone has a unique journey. Those of us who have the opportunity to share it publicly, whether it's a book or a podcast or a webinar or however we're communicating, I think hopefully it enables someone else to learn from that. I think what you said about really being almost grateful for those things that happened in your past. I'm of that same mindset. I always say all the decisions I made led me to where I am today. And if I'm happy today, then I must have navigated pretty well. And I would have to say I'm pretty happy today.
I call it life school. I call that life school.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Neha. It's been a pleasure. I've learned a lot. I've got a new approach as a gift, and I appreciate everything that you shared with us today.
Well, it was an honor to be here. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Press Pause. To learn more about Neha, go to intuitiveintelligenceinc.com. To learn more about me, go to thesalientstrategist.com. And be sure to join us again wherever you listen to your podcast.